Maybe it could even be a Childish Gambino song.
Who's that?
That's the actor who plays Lando.
In what?
Solo,
a Star Wars. Oh, I thought you were gonna say the whole thing.
I
That
didn't know what you were trying to do
but
there.
Obviously today's episode is Solo: A Star Wars Story. Our
Add applause.
Our fourth movie review, because we didn't do Clone Wars, the movie.
Oh, that's right. We did the series.
We're doing everything in order. So this is technically our fourth movie review.
Yeah, and then after
ahead.
this would be Rogue One, right?
If we're talking movies, yeah.
Movies, yeah.
It's also the first spin-off movie we're talking about. Again,
That's
because we
right.
did not do Clone
That's
Wars.
right.
This is also the first standalone one. Also the only standalone one, because I feel, this is just me being a little bit pretentious, but I don't feel like Rogue One is technically standing on its own, because it's sort of, in a good way, piggybacking off of A New Hope.
It felt like DLC, though.
Yeah, it's like prequel DLC for A New Hope.
It didn't feel like,
It's not me crapping on the movie or anything.
No, I am.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. But this one really feels, just to sort of get into it, it does, the nice thing about this is it does feel like
it feels
complete
like its own
story.
thing.
Yeah, it stands on its own. This isn't, well, the ending kind of leads into something that's referenced into A New Hope, but really you could watch this having not seen any other Star Wars movie and you'd be fine. While I feel Rogue One, you're probably going to get more out of it having seen A New Hope. Like the other prequel movies, to be fair. I feel like you get the most out of 1, 2, and 3 having seen 4, 5, and 6. Did you see this in the theater?
Yeah, I think I saw it with you, didn't I?
No. I saw this with another friend of ours, and then I saw it with my dad.
I don't remember who I saw it with. But I remember not liking it.
No?
Before I watched, because I watched it a couple more times, and I remember, like, I haven't watched it for a while when we were planning this review. And so when I watched it, like, a week ago, I was like, oh, I actually kind of like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, one of my favorite, if not my favorite character is Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I would like, already cool and suave adult Han Solo going on adventures, I like young Han Solo. Like, I think, like, him not really being, like, all that yet is a cool take, and the actor is very convincing.
Yeah, I know he got a lot of crap from people being like, he can't replace Harrison Ford. And no, he's not Harrison Ford, but he still gives a really good performance. And there are a couple of moments, specifically one point when he's in, like, the Crimson Dawn ship where he's, like, walking around, he's got his hands on his belt. I felt like he channeled Harrison Ford a little bit there. And, I mean, to the complaints that he's not Harrison Ford, I mean, that's kind of the point. Like you just said, it's like, Han in a different point in his life.
If he was doing, like, a direct impression of Han Solo, I would think that would be annoying. Well, but right now he's acting like young Han Solo, I feel like, would act.
Yeah. How do you feel, speaking of that, how do you feel about Donald Glover as Lando? Because one of the reasons I actually like his performance in here is because he is doing a Billy D. Williams impression. Like, if you notice, like, his certain inflections when he's talking, he's really channeling the actor.
Yeah.
Do you think that's annoying?
I know a little bit at certain times.
Okay.
I feel like in his introduction, I was like, okay, he's kind of hamming it up. Like, he's just like, I feel like I'm watching Lando right now. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't seem like young Lando. But then, like, as he kind of warms up, like, you see, like, he's also kind of just, like, winging it, just like Han Solo.
Yeah.
And, like, things are happening, and he's just like, well, I guess I got to adapt.
Yeah. I'll go ahead.
No, that was it.
But just to go back a little bit, I did see this. This is the first one we can actually talk about where we have, like, an actual memory of seeing this in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this, like, the night before, and, like, the preview showing, and I didn't go into it with, like, high expectations. I was a little bit jaded by, like, the discourse around Last Jedi, and I was like, I'm starting to get a little bit sick of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But then I came out of it. I was pleasantly surprised. I remember texting our friend John Mando. He had seen it too, and I was like, It's a lot better than I thought it would be, you know. And and repeat viewings, I kind of liked it a little bit less, but like when I watch it like by myself, I really enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my points. Yeah,
this opening, I think it's all right. I wrote down a few notes when I was watching, and one of the things I wrote was the aliens at the beginning, like that weird, like
mulch or mulch or something like that.
Yeah.
With like the helmet thing.
Yeah,
like,
where they don't go in the sun or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I like them. Like they show a bunch of different kinds of aliens. I just think they're awesome. I think anytime they include like different alien races that don't look like humans wearing prosthetics, is really cool. And I put the music too, but I can't remember what the music sounds like. But I remember this chase scene. I was like, oh, this sounds really fucking good. Like, for being just like a one-off movie, like it sounds like, you know, trilogy level. Which I guess would make sense because, you know, like it's still its own movie. Why wouldn't they do that?
No, that's what I put down too. I think this probably has the best score out of the new Disney Star Wars movies. It was done by a guy named John Powell or Jonathan Powell. He's done a couple movies. The only other one that I can think of off the top of my head, I believe he did Robots, the 2005 animated movie with Ewan McGregor. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Really?
Yeah. He did a score for that. But man, the music in this movie is fantastic. And I know John Williams is retired from Star Wars now, but if they ever go back to the saga films like 10, 11, and 12, I would want this guy to score it. Michael Giacchino, who did... he does like a bunch of Marvel movies, did The Incredibles. He's really good, but his score for Rogue One I didn't think was all that great, so I feel like if they're going to reuse someone who's been in the movies other than John Williams, I would love for this guy to come back.
You know, I would be okay with that because it actually like caught my ear when I was listening. I was like, oh, this is pretty good music. And normally like I'll talk about with the sequels, I didn't really pay any attention to the music. Like you can show me Kylo Ren's theme and I wouldn't know what it is. Like I wouldn't be able to recognize it.
What John Powell does here, it's really good. What John Williams is really good at doing is mixing the themes together. Like during the Kessel Run, which is where I think the music is at its best, he's mixing in the Asteroid Field theme, the Millennium Falcon theme from the original, the Star Wars main theme, like a whole bunch of things, while also having his own original music in there. So it's this nice blend of familiar and new, which I thought was really good, and it made that scene a lot more fun too.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. That scene, like how simple it was, like for what was actually happening, felt a lot more epic because of the music, which is exactly what good music should do.
Yeah. I really like how this movie is also going off of what you said being simple, is it's really easy to follow too. There's nothing like super convoluted. There's nothing, extreme about it.
Yes.
In terms of like, oh, what's the underlying thing? Like it's just a fun movie.
Yeah. And that's another thing I wrote down was like Han Solo's relationship with
Kira.
Yeah. Like it's already established. Like you don't need to know how they met. Who cares? None of that matters. You know that they're together.
Makes for a really good
and
adult novel though.
Yeah.
Read Most Wanted.
Oh, is it?
It's a book. Yeah, that's it's actually a really solid. All the things around Solo, like all the extra material, are really good.
Did a bunch of extra stuff come out for this when this came out?
Yeah, there's a prequel novel, just to go briefly. There's a prequel novel about Han and Kira. Then there's a comic book about Han in the Imperial Flight Academy that this movie kind of just skips over. The novelization is good. The only thing that's not good, there's a Lando comic that takes place before this. It makes him really unlikable. I think that might be one of the worst comic that they've put out. It is just atrocious. Like, I don't want to be negative, like super negative or anything, but man, that was bad.
Well, I feel like Lando's kind of like wishy-washy for a while, but it's like ultimately like he wants to do the right thing.
Yeah, like there's good Lando comics out now. It's just that this one is just bad. I don't even know who wrote that one, but I'm just like, whoa. There's also a book about Han and Lando between 6 and 7. and they flash back. I think before they met. Yeah, I think so. It wasn't that great, but I mean, it was at least entertaining, I guess.
Yeah.
It's called Last Shot, but that also tied in. But yeah, getting back to Han and Kira, I think that's, I don't want to say the best element of this movie, but it's really strong. It was neat to see him have like a first love, because obviously we know he ends up with Leia. That's the only person we've ever seen him like really go after. So it was kind of neat to see, like, even though you know these two aren't going to end up together, like to see their relationship. Like, we've all had like young love, you know.
Yeah, and you know, like this, the way Han is in the beginning of this movie, like this is not how Han is, how we normally know him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not this yuppie like bright-eyed, like I'm in
out
love
for himself.
We're gonna get out of this planet, babe.
Yeah,
I love you.
Yeah.
But you see like what made him kind of that way, especially like later on in the scenes with Kira, where he's like, she's like, you know, I've had to do things to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Like you went to the Imperial Academy and you're jumping around adventures. I've been in a gang.
Yeah,
you know, like
she had to like get out of there on her own.
Yeah.
I think the novelization actually shows like a scene where she had to like, I think, kill for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually really interesting because Dryden was there kind of like egging her on. But yeah, I think she's a really interesting character too. If there ever is a sequel, or, you know, people have toyed with the idea of there being like a show, I think it'd be really interesting to see her working for Maul. Because she's not like a bad person, but she's kind of morally gray from what we see of her.
Yeah,
like later on, she's sort of a survivalist.
Yeah, she kind of does what she needs to, looks out for herself.
Mm-hmm. But Han is like her weak spot, though. I think they say that at one point. They're each other's weak spots, you know.
And it really makes, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but it really makes Han feel like what's the word? Like he doesn't know any better.
Naive.
Yeah, like it makes him feel naive. Like when she's like, you know, I'm branded, I'm in a gang, and he's like, why don't you just leave and come on me with adventures? She's like, I can't just do that, and he's like, well, why not? And it's like, bad things would happen.
Yeah, you know, I feel like by the end of this movie, he's a little bit less wide-eyed.
Yeah.
And that's something that I guess I could consider it a complaint, is that it really feels like this movie has like, while it is, I know I said it is standalone and it's nice, it at the very end it does feel like it's setting up for more possible adventures, you know, like if it did well. So it does, I know they leave it open-ended with like Kira and, you know, Han doing the Jabba job, but it does kind of feel, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It does sort of feel like, okay, well, there's more to this story.
Like it's open-ended still.
Yeah, like they do it in a way where it's like, okay, if there isn't a sequel, it's fine. Like, you can just enjoy it. But it does, you know, not everything is resolved to, like, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Nothing is resolved to, like, the most, like, the apex of the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like there's never, like, a solid conclusion. Which, for Han Solo, we kind of know what's going to happen, but that's way later on.
Yeah, I mean, Han in this movie kind of does have, like, the same arc where in A New Hope, where he's sort of not out for himself, because, like you said, like, he is naive, but in the end, he ends up, like, helping the rebellion, or whatever, this Enfys Nest, like, small little rebellion.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like maybe if at the very end he takes the coaxium, or she like lets him have like a little bit of coaxium, I think it would have been a bit more, like, if you were wanting to not have this be the Han that's in A New Hope, like, lead into that, maybe have him steal like half of it, like she thinks she's getting like the full order of coaxium, and then she opens it and it's like Han's got like half of it or something. I don't know if they didn't think that Han would be redeemable after that, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Han still isn't, like, you know, the perfect hero either. Like, he would do something like that, because like every time you see Han, he's almost always in trouble with the gang lord.
Yeah,
like they're like, Han, how did you lose? all of our money
Yeah.
and our shipment. He's like, I don't know, but I promise I'll get it back. I'll get
Mm-hmm.
it back for you. It's like, you know, I don't know. I feel like this story, like, it's good for naive Han, but, like, they should have made him, like, near the end, I guess, more, like, snappy.
More like A New Hope. I mean, they had an opportunity when Kira left him, because he's not jaded yet.
Yeah.
A New Hope Han is jaded, and I feel like maybe if Kira... I feel like that moment when Kira left, that's when he should have been maybe, like, more like A New Hope Han. Like this girl just sort of abandoned me and left me,
Mm-hmm.
and all he's got is Chewbacca, and, you know, they're going to go get the Falcon or whatever. Like, he doesn't care about causes.
Yeah, like, come on, Chewie, let's go make some money.
Yeah, I don't, like, hate it or anything. I just feel like maybe towards the end it could have been a little bit better.
Yeah, well, I mean, how would you end a Han Solo movie? A prequel movie, you know?
I guess just sort of like I said, just sort of maybe if this is going to be the only one, then sort of make him more like A New Hope Han. Because he's, like, he is a little changed by the end of this, but I don't think the change is great enough to where you're like, okay, I can go watch A New Hope and it's going to be the same character. Like, you know what I mean? There's still, like, a piece missing here.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Like, I feel like the movie... Honestly, I feel like the movie should have ended, like, before they even went to Dryden's office. Like, I feel like...
Oh, really?
Like, at first when I saw the movie, like, when they concluded, like, with the resistance lady...
Mm-hmm.
And they were
Enfys
like...
Nest?
Yeah. And, like, they, like... patched everything up and, like, we're gonna all head out. I was like, oh, this feels like the ending of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, they still have the ending to go to.
But you see, I thought the pacing was good. I didn't really feel like that scene was tacked on or anything.
No, I didn't feel like it was tacked on, but the scene before it with Infant's Nest felt like the ending.
Oh.
Like, I thought the movie was just gonna straight up end there.
Oh, but you're saying, like, the part where... Okay, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like, I didn't feel like the last scene was bad. Like, I still enjoyed the last scene in The Office.
Okay, yeah, with the fight.
Yeah.
The action in this movie, all of it's really great.
Yes.
Including the Battle of Mimban, where, like, Han Solo goes flying in the air, and it looks like a real, like, war.
Yes, which...
Like, the trenches and stuff.
I really like that, because you really only see that in, like, the Clone Wars
I'd say
series.
more Rogue One, too. Like, a real war. Like Clone Wars and Attack of the Clones, even Revenge of the Sith, it feels like a full-scale war, but this, with, like, all the mud and, like, actual trenches, feels like an actual war, like in our reality, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then there's, like, they're airdropping, like, the walkers and stuff, which is pretty neat.
Yes, and
it's a different take.
I really enjoy it. I like all the Empire stuff in this.
Yeah,
like,
the Mud Troopers and
the Mud Troopers.
Oh, that's what they're called.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what they're designed to be in, I guess. Yeah, no, the Imperial stuff is cool, seeing more of it. I think this is the first time we've actually seen, like, a good chunk of the Imperial side of things, other than, like, maybe Rogue One, if we're talking just movies.
It's, like, all the way back to, like, when they were in the shipyard, like, trying to get off planet. I think all that stuff was interesting, too. Like, when they were, like, what is it? They were trying to bribe the lady at the gate to get through.
Yeah.
And they were like, we give you this coaxium and you let us through.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, honestly, like, it was kind of lame how they grabbed her right at the last second.
A little, but I mean,
like, what are they supposed to do? Yeah, like, what are they supposed to do?
It worked.
I like Chewbacca being a monster like the Rancor. Because,
a little, yeah.
Like, is he supposed to eat them? Does Chewbacca eat people?
I mean, if that's all they're feeding him, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But
Feed
he's
him
just not
defectors.
scary.
Well, I think he's not scary because we know him as Chewbacca. Like, we know he's not going to eat Han Solo. I do like Chewbacca in this.
Oh, no, I do.
They're actually
too.
giving him stuff to do, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of cool to see how they met. And they, like, saved each other, and, you know, how they become buddies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of, like, more side characters, I like Woody Harrelson's character.
The characters are great in this. I think all of the characters are...
What's his name?
What?
Woody Harrelson's character.
Chip.
Chip.
Uh,
It's not. It's not Chip. Oh my God, what is his name? I keep thinking of Dryden, who's also a really cool character, played by Vision, Paul Bettany.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
menacing villain. He's pretty cool too. What is his name? Woody Harrelson's character.
I'm gonna
It's
look it
not
up.
Chip.
Are you sure?
I'm just gonna say I like how he's sort of Han's mentor, trying to tell him about the way things work and how Han gets like the upper hand on him. And again, he's not Tobias Beckett. He's not like a completely awful character. Like you can tell that he actually like likes Han, but again, sort of like Kira, he's like out for himself. And I guess over the course of the story, Han learns, there needs to be sort of like a balance with that. Like he's obviously not going to abandon Chewbacca or anything and be that selfish, but
Yeah.
he learns that there are selfish people out there, and I guess that sort of puts him in place for A New Hope. Again, I just don't think it's as strong as it could be, but
No, I agree. Just to go off a little bit for a second, I hate that Han Solo speaks Wookiee. And he goes,
you want to talk about the comedy?
oh.
I don't think it's that bad in this movie.
No, I think
I'd say
60% of it is good.
Okay.
And feels like it belongs, and it makes sense, and it's funny.
Anything that's not from L337, I'd say is pretty decent. The Wookiee thing is just all right. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
like Han knows his language.
L337, like, just
It depends on how you look at her.
so
I'll say that.
that's my thing. Is like, it almost feels like it's parody, like we're supposed to laugh at her because like, oh, look at the stupid liberal or whatever, Like I feel like, are you trying to make this droid to like bring awareness to this kind of thing, or is this droid a joke?
Okay, yeah, because the movie was originally directed by two comedy guys, Chris Lord and Phil Miller.
Yeah.
Or Chris...
Like
either it sounds like that.
Is she supposed to be comic relief? Like,
well, that's the thing is like when they got fired off the movie and Ron Howard had to come in, it was I don't know if it's true. I think like 80-90% of the movie was done. So it's hard to tell what was the Ron Howard stuff and what was the stuff from Lord and Miller because they obviously couldn't just completely redo the whole movie.
yeah,
So if you look at her as a parody or sort of like a critique of like, I know you said liberals, but like people with like extreme into a cause,
like, yeah,
as a parody, I feel that it works because if you look at her, I guess her arc, she's like all for standing up for free will and not being subservient to humans in terms of droids. But if you look at what happens to her, where does her character end? She ends up becoming a part of the ship and subservient to humans.
yeah.
I don't know if that's supposed to be funny or not, but if you look at it as like dead serious, it's sort of strange that no one in any other Star Wars movie has brought up droid rights. Nothing in the comics, from what I can recall, nothing in the books.
The only thing is like in episode 4, we don't serve their kind.
That's the only thing I can think of.
And even then, it's like that doesn't make any sense.
And it's not like in Rogue One where you see a different side of the rebellion, where you know how it shows like they're morally gray, and then like in the original trilogy, they're just like straight good guys.
Yeah.
Because in Rebels and some of the comics, they deal with them being morally gray. You know, like okay, they have to do some dirt to like be good guys. But in this, like, it plays into nothing else. At least with Rogue One, I can say, oh, well, there's this, if you watch this. With this is the only thing where they try and show, like, oh, yeah, droids have, like, human rights. And it's like, sure.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, people treat R2 like he's a real person.
They kind of treat him like a pet, almost. They treat him like a pet, and they kind of just crap on C-3PO. You know what I mean?
Yeah, shut this thing up.
Yeah, shut this thing up. But I don't know. It's just sort of strange. It doesn't really play into anything else. And I do find out 337 annoying. That might be my least favorite Star Wars character. I consider it nowadays with me. I consider something to be bad when I can find like no redeeming quality. I mean, I can't really find anything nice to say about like. She doesn't make me like angry or anything, but I just cannot find one nice thing to say about L337. Like, genuinely.
No,
I can't
believe
think.
that.
There's no, I mean, her design's kind of neat. She's like a mishmash of like all kinds of different droid parts, I guess. But that's just the design. Like, the character herself is just sort of like, why is this here? It's just like a
and the whole
Chewbacca for
relationship
Lando.
thing with Lando. It's like,
That's another thing. Is like, I don't know if that's supposed to be taken seriously or not, because the writer confirmed he's like pansexual, but like that doesn't play into the movie at all, aside from like a joke where, like, again, if you interpret L337 as saying that she has a thing with Lando as a joke, it's kind of funny. But if you interpret that as like dead serious, like, yes, they are in a relationship or they've had like an affair before, it's just sort of like, all right, like,
it's like, is Lando making out with you?
Yeah, it's just sort of like, I mean, you could tell he cares for her, like when he's like cradling her dead body, but it's like,
to what extent did you care for her?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah, because most people just treat droids like droids in this, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is like the fact that she's standing up for droid rights. Are we then in the other movies supposed to be like, poor R2D2, poor C3PO, they're subservient to Luke, but like, Luke treats them nice. Luke loves R2D2. Yeah. Anakin loves R2D2. Like, Padme likes C3PO. Mm-hmm. Like, no one's like, go do your thing, stupid droid. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, no one's being it. Like, everyone loves BB-8. No one. Yeah. Finn, Rose, everyone's nice to BB-8. Yeah. It's just sort of like almost like a moot point. Like, yeah. It just depends on the person, I guess.
Going back really quick to the comedy. Mm-hmm. The scene in the shower.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's what I mean. That's funny.
That genuinely got a laugh out of me.
That's funny. Most of the stuff Lando says. I like the little nod to, if in Empire he calls him Han. So they kind of set that up here as he's just doing that to just kind of be like a jerk to him. Like, he knows his name is Han, but he keeps calling him Han. Yeah. There was another joke that I thought was pretty deep. Oh, at the very end when he's like, oh, I got like 50 armed guards in that ship, and then like Lando just takes off in the Falcon and he steps back. See, like, I'd say this is probably like the second best humor in the Disney movies. I think Rise of Skywalker, aside from the obvious joke, the fly now joke, is probably the best. Really? I'll say it like this. I think it's Rise of Skywalker, Solo, Force Awakens, Rogue One, and Last Jedi. Just in terms of how much it like distracts from the story. Like, there's no pause the movie moments in here, at least that I can think of.
Oh, dude, the Last
Everything's
Jedi
going.
Starts with the pause the movie.
Yeah. I mean, we did a whole episode on that. But I want to talk about Maul for a little bit. So when I first saw this in the theater, I had no idea he was in it. Did you?
No, no clue.
I thought it was great that they brought they got the actor who played him in Phantom Menace to be the body, and then they dubbed him over with Sam Witwer, who Ray Parker is the guy. Yeah. Or Ray Park is the guy who did it in Phantom Menace, but then they got Sam Witwer, guy who does it in Clone Wars and Battlefront and Rebels and everything, to actually be the voice, which I thought was a really nice touch. Originally, they were going to get the guy who did it, the dub in who did his voice in Phantom Menace, to do it, but I think I prefer Sam Witwer. It makes it more cohesive.
He barely talked in Phantom Menace.
I think that maybe is why they did it. I also like the use of foreshadowing. They mention a couple of times they reference that he's working for someone. He's like, you know who I work for, my boss, at one point, which was cool. And there's another piece of foreshadowing, the Pikes. It was cool to see a live action Pike from the Clone Wars.
I was gonna say that too. Part of my alien talk is I was like, after watching Clone Wars, like, you see the Pikes all the time in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And it's like,
especially towards the end.
Oh yeah, I like how they look.
I thought that was really cool to see that, but he mentions having a fragile alliance with the Pikes, which is also foreshadowing. It's not in your face. Like, if you don't know, it's not going to hurt you. But if you're like paying attention, in hindsight, it's like, okay, fragile alliance with the Pikes, talking about Maul and the Shadow Collective. You know what I'm saying?
were the Pikes part of the Shadow Collective?
They were a part of his Shadow Collective, and by the end of the Clone Wars, remember he told them to go into hiding. There was also a part where they left his Shadow Collective. So, they were on, like, loose terms, which I thought was... It's cool foreshadowing because you could notice that and think, oh my god, it's Maul. But you know what I mean? But it's not super obvious that that's who they're talking about.
Yeah.
And initially, I thought it was cool. Like, I remember that shocked me. Like, just to go back to, like, what I thought. I, like, saw the legs, and I was like... I heard the voice, I'm like... That sounds so familiar. Like, who is that? And then he, like, pulled back his hood. I was like... Oh,
yeah, you're like, oh.
And it's kind of cool. His lightsaber is the one he has in Rebels, so you could tell like at what point in time. It's like the one that has like the Inquisitor handle on there, so you could tell like the Inquisitors have been after him at that point, which is a neat little touch. And initially, I did think it was weird that he was in it. Like it makes sense now, obviously, but I thought because this was before season 7 of the Clone Wars had come out, so I was like. In my mind, it was he had gotten the Siege of Mandalore happened the way it did before the show, and then he went into hiding until Malachor and Rebels. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wait, why is he the head of a crime syndicate here? Now it makes sense, given everything that we know now. But initially I was like, this doesn't really make sense. Why is he, if he's in hiding, why is he a crime lord, But I do think it's cool. He's the leader of this... his own, he's the leader of like Maul. He's a part of he's the leader of another crime syndicate. That's what he's doing with his time right now before Rebels. I think it'll be interesting to see if they do more of this. If they have like a Disney Plus series, like or they do another movie, more of Maul.
Yeah, because
to see how he gets to that place in Rebels now, because now it's not so clear.
Did they say anything about Maul showing up or having like Maul parts in the Obi-Wan movie or show?
No, but it wouldn't make sense unless they retcon Star Wars Rebels, because that was the first time since... When was the last time Obi-Wan saw Maul? It might have been when he killed Satine.
I got
that I can think of. Unless they like flash forward and they recreate that scene from Rebels, which might be cool depending on how they do it. Mm-hmm. But if there is going to be a spot for him to show up, it would be in like a Crimson Dawn show with him and Kira or something along those lines.
Oh, would he be in the Boba Fett show?
No, because that takes place after he's dead.
That's
Remember,
right.
Maul dies before the original trilogy starts.
That's right.
It's hard to keep everything in track sometimes because everyone's jumping around.
Mando takes place after
6,
but it's on Tatooine, which Tatooine to me. Of it.
Oh, you're associating that with original trilogy stuff.
Yeah, I normally do when I hear Tatooine. I think like
I don't
episode
blame you.
4.
Yeah.
So, but they go to Tatooine in literally every fucking movie. So like.
Actually, yeah, I think of the original. I think there's only 3 of the saga movies that don't take place on Tatooine. I think that's 7, 8, and 5.
I was gonna say 9.
Otherwise, they're in all the prequel movies. It's in 4 and 6, and they're at 9. But yeah, I love Maul's inclusion in this. It's a nice little cameo. I know some people were like, "Oh, it's confusing for audience members," and I'm like, "Yeah, it might be," but I also feel like it's kind of common knowledge now. Maybe it's just because we're Star Wars fans. But I think it's common knowledge Maul survived.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I mean, if you're only watching the movies, it is going to be weird that Maul just shows up, because I mean, this is he dies in quote unquote dies in 1, and then you cut to this. Like, this is the next time he shows up. And like, think about it. If you're not watching Clone Wars or anything else, this is the next time he shows up.
I mean, if this is the only time you see him, actually be like, whoa, this is pretty cool. And then you'd be like, why is Darth Maul here? Why is he still alive? And then wait. You gotta watch your whole TV series to find out. Yeah. No, it is sort of like... That's the thing, is like, it's half and half for me. It's like, yeah, you kind of do have to watch it. But then, I don't know, you could like look at the robot legs and just infer like, oh, he survived and got himself a new body. I don't know. Yeah, they make it very obvious. I think the moment where he like pulls his lightsaber out is super cheesy.
Yeah, I know some people have complained about that, but I don't know. I didn't mind it too much. Mm-hmm. It was sort of trying to be intimidating to Kira, and like I said, it was neat to see the actual design of the lightsaber. Just
I agree.
briefly, to talk about. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
No, that was it.
Oh, just briefly. Enfys Nest, I think, is a cool character. The leader of like this rebellion. I do like seeing during Imperial times, like little sparks of rebellion here and there. Like the first season of Rebels is just like the 6 of them in their little cell, and then you
And
see like Saw Gerrera and his rebels.
And oh yeah, and then what's his name? Oh, what's his fucking name? The Senator of Alderaan.
Oh, Bail Organa. Yeah,
Bail
he's got his
Organa's
own
like,
little thing.
I have my ships, but I don't. I was doing Captain Sato. Yeah.
Sato, yeah.
But I like how he's like inadvertently helping the rebels, or like
Yeah.
or there's so many Star Wars names going through my head right now that it's hard to keep track of all of them.
He's helping like Ahsoka and them. Like
yeah,
Fulcrum,
by
like the Phoenix Cell.
Yeah, by having like there's that one episode with Princess Leia where she gives like those 3 giant ships to them.
The Old Republic ships.
Yeah. She's like, oh, they're stealing my ships. What the heck is going on?
Yeah. No, it's cool to just see that. And I was getting back to Enfys. I just think it's cool to see another Cell, and maybe down the line she would join the rebellion. No, I feel like they're going to try and do that with Bad Batch. I talked about that briefly on the speculation episode, but I feel like that'll be another like small little hint at rebellion during this time. And there's a lot of that's another thing just to say is that this planet or all the planets in this are really cool. It's not just the same crap over and over again.
Yeah, I mean they're all new and they're all pretty. I mean they're not like.
It was cool to see Kessel in live action.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like this snow planet. You could say it's like Hoth, but with just all mountains.
I guess, yeah, but it's more mountainy. It's not
it's like
just the
mountain
wasteland.
snow planet.
I'd say that Hoth is more like an equivalent to Tatooine in terms of just being like a snow desert, rather than having like big geography like this planet.
Yeah. To go off on a third tangent.
You're good.
Looking at this scene, I can really tell how muted the colors are.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the white snow around them. I'm talking about the scene where, like, right after everyone dies in the train heist, and, like, Han gets punched in the face by, Pecker? What's his name?
Pecker? Beckett. Pecker.
And, like, they're on top of a snowy mountain, and everything's white, so you know what people look like in this kind of setting, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the lighting, but they look like they're in, like, a dark, smoky bar.
They definitely toned down the saturation. I know that's another common complaint. It does... I do think it makes the film stand out a bit in terms of, like, the other Star Wars movies.
Yeah, it feels a little more dark and gritty this way.
The gray scales up, yeah.
Because, I mean, if you compare this to, like, The Force Awakens.
Oh,
it's like
it's like night and day.
Yeah, it's like going from a video game to like a horror movie.
Vivid colors in Force Awakens, like the reds and the blues.
BB-8.
BB-8, the
even orange and white.
Yeah,
I mean, he was made to be iconic.
Yeah, lots of different colors in there.
Yeah. But compared to this, like Chewie's got the most color, and he's brown and black.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's a lot of everything's sort of muted.
Real quick, I love his ship.
Oh, the Crimson Dawn ship.
I love the giant luxury ship.
Oh yeah, this is really good. I don't think in the past I've given enough credit because it just seems like you look at like the Force Awakens and a little bit of Last Jedi, it just seems like a lot of the same. But there is a lot of new stuff here. They incorporate a lot of new. There's new TIE fighters chasing them during the Millennium Falcon chase.
Oh, yeah.
During the Kessel Run.
Weird alien.
Yeah, weird alien in a jar that looks like one of those toys from like the early 2000s that would like jiggle and dance in the water with the music. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And then just one more that really kind of made me go like, whoa, like they're cutting deep with like the references is after Kira like knocks everyone out with like the karate moves, I think Beckett or someone asked her, like, how do you know that? And she's like, oh, Teras Kazi or whatever. Kasai. That is a martial arts, like, type, what do you call that? Not movement. Martial arts style. That's it. Martial arts style in the Star Wars universe that was featured in a video game most prominently called Masters of Terraskazi. And it's a horrible game, but it was a nice little nod. I think they used that like against Jedi. It's like this martial arts style that you would use to combat a Jedi hand to hand, which was just a cool little reference. I mean, they just threw that in there, and I know like most people wouldn't get that, but that was just something cool. You know, like if you played the game like I did, that was cool.
I was gonna say I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was cool. Do you have anything major to mention? Because I do want to get into one big dislike.
Do
you?
Go ahead.
Do you? Okay. So I know we've been way more positive on this than I actually thought we would be. I mean, I like the movie. We both like it, right?
Yeah.
We both recommend it.
Oh yeah.
But there is one thing in here that I'm a bit like kind of about. I believe the term is called prequelitis. I don't know how other people use the term, but the way I use it is, you know, if there's a prequel to a movie and there's something from the original movie in the prequel, you kind of go, well, it's not like this in the original, so we have to show how it got that way, or we have to make it like that.
I may be thinking of the exact scene you're referencing.
I'll mention a whole bunch of stuff. So, just to go off and like, you know, some people say that the prequel trilogy has it. I can't really think of one off the top of my head. I can think of a good example is C-3PO. It's like you look at him in the Phantom Menace, and it's like, well, he's gold in A New Hope, but they show that gradually over time. Like in Phantom Menace, he's like butt naked. Then in Attack of the Clones, he's got like silver plating, and then in Revenge of the Sith, he's gold. And they don't really draw attention to it. He's not like, oh, look at my new gold, blah blah blah. I just got it installed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just looks like it.
It's like when they give him the red arm.
So, what do you mean? It's not prequelitis.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying it's similar to that.
What do you? Oh, they're not. Well, they draw attention to it in that movie, though.
Oh,
he said, notice me. That's a funny
they don't
bit, though.
recognize me because of my
red arm. That was a good one. So in terms of like explaining another thing is over-explaining. That's something I feel that a lot of the Disney stuff kind of suffers from, to varying degrees, is not explaining big things that need to be explained, but like over-explaining like minute details. Like, I don't want to keep dragging this on, but like in Rogue One or in Force Awakens, they don't bother to explain the origins of the First Order or the New Republic. But we're gonna make sure that you know exactly how the Death Star was designed in Rogue One and how there was a flaw in there and how they got the plans, which is like, all right, whatever. But in this movie, explaining how Chewbacca met Han, how he got the Falcon, the fact that the Falcon like takes damage in this, it's like, well, it doesn't look like it. How, you know, the Falcon looks new in this movie. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, it doesn't look like that in A New Hope. So let's just show it getting damaged and shoots the escape pod out. You know what I mean? It just a little bit like, and then Han getting his name. It's like, well, how did he get his name? It's like,
Han giving
the fact that the Kessel Run is in this too is like, oh, he mentioned that once. Oh, he mentioned the Kessel Run. Well, it's got to be in this movie, you know.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
The whole scene with Chewie getting his nickname Chewie.
Oh, that too. Yeah, there's just a lot of it.
That entire scene, I feel like that was it. That was just the point of that scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, Chewbacca. Well, I don't want to say
that. I'm not going to call you that every time. It's like, okay, all right.
You need a nickname.
Yeah.
he doesn't say it, which is fine. If you would have went, what about Chewie? And Chewie went, hey, that sounds pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I get you. But
yeah. What's wrong with Paul Bettany's face?
It's just like a little character quirk, is like every time he gets angry, it like the scars like light up or like open up. That's the only thing.
He's not like a weird alien race?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the actual name of it. Or maybe he's a human with like a weird skin thingy, but yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much all I have to say. Pretty much all you have to say too. I think it's a really good movie.
Yeah, you know, I would say this is one of the better Star Wars movies. It's probably not one of the best that Disney has put out.
I think it might have moved up for me. It's either this or Rogue One that's my favorite. You know.
Disney movie?
Disney Star Wars movie. It might be just below Attack of the Clones for me.
See, I don't like Rogue One. My opinion might change like it did for this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed this movie. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the charm from this could have been used in the mainline trilogy, like the sequels. But yeah, I really enjoy this movie. I would recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a solid movie, and I don't feel like enough people give it a chance, because this did bomb at the box office. Or a quote-unquote bomb, I guess. I know they lost money on it. I don't know how much of that was that it was immediately after Last Jedi.
Yeah,
So,
people were like, I want to see a fucking Star Wars Han Solo movie. It's like, I was the same way, though. And then I saw it, and I was like, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I remember hating it for a while, like I said, and then... But even so.
Yeah, it's a nice little... It's different, which is what I like. It's why I like the prequels so much, is that it's different, shows you a different side of the galaxy, and...
There's Mandalorian armor in Paul Bettany's office, by the way.
There's also, if you look, I think Knights of Ren, they're, like... sticks or whatever, like their weapons.
Oh yeah?
No.
There's a crystal skull from Indiana Jones, see?
That's connected.